Hello, this is Tan from IBM Security Guardium Technical Support Team. In this video, we will talk about the Guardium policies. This is the part 2 of the training. In part 1, I have covered all points up to the demo part 1. Next, I will continue with demo part 2. In part 1, I have demoed how to create, test the policy, and configure the policy rules and actions as per the policy design diagram. And in part 2, I will first quickly generate some database traffic, then we can verify whether the installed policies are working properly. And finally, I will quickly demo the policy scheduling, and also I will walk you through the database exception reports. That's the plan. Let's continue the demo part 2. In demo part 1, we have created the test policy and we have installed the policy on the collector. Next, in this part, we will first generate some database traffic so that we can test whether the policy is working or not. For your information, I used the SQL command SQL plus MS SQL Management Studio to generate database traffic. There are also some internal DB applications generating the database traffic. Next, we will need to review related Guardian reports to verify if the policy rules are working or not. First, let us revisit the policy rules that we just defined. There are 4 rules. The first rule is 3 consecutive failed login. The action is alert per match. So to verify the alert per match action, we can check the policy violation because each alert action will generate both policy violation and the alert notification. It is very useful that the policy violation report has a column called access rule description. This tells us this violation is logged by which access rule. So you can see at the bottom, rule 1 has a violation for 3 consecutive failed logins. This indicates the first rule is working. And the second rule, it is ignore step session rule action. It is to ignore the trusted connections. Then how to verify if ignore step session is happening or not? The answer is the sessions list report. We have a predefined report called sessions list. This is one of my favorite reports for troubleshooting. So you can locate the sessions list report, and when clicking it, it asks you whether you want to make a copy or open original. If you open original, you won't be able to customize. So I always make a copy, and you just need to name it as per your preference. And if you expand the columns, there are already 16 columns defined. So you can see the bottom 2, sessions ignored and ignored since. Those are very useful attributes to tell me whether the session has been ignored or not. I also added a sorting order to sort by the session start descending order. Okay, the query has been saved successfully. Let me switch to the sessions list report. So I only want to focus on the last 30 minutes. Okay. And then you can see there are 76 sessions in the report. They are logged for the last 30 minutes. They have DB2, Oracle, MS SQL sessions logged. If I scroll to the right, the sessions ignored column. Oh, I find one yes step. This indicates the session is ignored by step, ignore step session. There are another MS SQL session being ignored by ignore step session. So with this attribute information, it tells me whether there are any sessions triggered the rule. And also I can double check by viewing the sessions attribute to verify. So this is how you can verify ignore step session. You can check the sessions list report. The third one is log full details for privileged DB users SQL activities. Then how to verify the log full details action. Similarly, we have a predefined report called full SQL. I usually just clone the full SQL report and customize it as needed. Again, I'm making a copy of the full SQL report. Demo full SQL by rule. So as the report name suggests, I need to add an additional attribute. This is a very useful attribute. It's called access rule description. This is from the full SQL entity. This attribute will tell you the record is logged by which rule. It's similar as the policy violations access rule description. So this is the report result. I just narrowed down the report to focus on last 1 hour. You can see from the access rule description, those records are logged by rule number 3, privileged DB user log full detail activities. So by checking this attribute access rule description together with the full SQL and also the DB username, it confirmed me that the rule number 3 is triggered properly. Those are the privileged DB users. Additionally, if I check from the bottom, I can also find the full SQL logged by rule number 4. It's also logged by the same DB user, the privileged DB user. This is because I triggered continue to next, right? So the full SQL triggered both actions, log full detail and log masked detail, because of the continue to next rule option. So if SQL triggered both rule actions, the latest action takes precedence. That is why the bottom 4 records are logged by rule number 4 with masked details. Masked details means the values are replaced by the question mark. So by chance, we also verified the rule number 4 is triggered as well, the log masked detail action. And about the alert per match, similarly, we can use the policy violations report. You can see the top 3 records, access rule description is coming from rule number 4. And the full SQL string, it has the masked SQL. This is because we defined in rule number 4's other criteria to log masked SQL for policy violation. So as of now, we have verified both rule number 3 and rule number 4. By the way, there is a predefined report called logged RT real-time alerts. It will show you the total number of real-time alerts for the period that you selected and logged by which access rule. So this can give you an overview, the number of alerts logged by each access rule. But you don't get the detail. If you want to get the detail, you need to view the policy violation report. By the way, for rule number 4, we defined the notification type with syslog. Similarly, for rule number 1, we defined the syslog notification type. Then for this type of notification, how can we verify the syslog notification has been triggered or not? The answer is that you can check Guardium's syslog messages file. So to access Guardium's syslog messages, you can use the file server to access the syslog messages. To access file server, you need to start it from the CLI by using the file server command. You can click the logs directory and debug-logs and open the messages file. So this is the syslog messages. If I search by rule keyword, you can see the current one. It is a notification generated by rule 1, 3 consecutive failed login. And if I search by rule 4, you can see there are 3 additional syslog notifications generated in the syslog. So these indicate that the syslog notifications are generated as well. About the message template, I selected the default message template, right? If you want to use your own named template, you can narrow down the filter to real-time alert, and you can customize existing or create a new message template. If you want to customize default message template, you just customize from the default message template section. Okay, we've covered about all the 4 rules and how to verify each of them. Then how about the traffic that doesn't meet any of the rule criteria? Then the answer is the default login behavior, the selective audit trail option, decides the default login behavior for any traffic that doesn't meet any rule criteria. So for non-selective audit trail, default SQL construct will be logged. We have this SQL count report, but it only shows you the count of SQL construct instance. If you want to find the details of the SQL construct, then you can create your own SQL report based on access domain with SQL main entity, and you can add the attributes as needed. I just added a session timestamp, and I don't want to add the attribute one by one. I used the tuple attribute instead. The tuple attribute is from client server session entity. And I need to add the SQL if I want to view the SQL construct. And also there is another total access from access period entity. This will show you how many times the SQL construct instance happened for that session in that time period. As you can see, this is the SQL report. I can see there are multiple SQL construct logged. And the second column has the session level information. You can see I can see those are not meeting any of my rule criteria, but they still get logged. And for construct, it is SQL with values being replaced by question mark. So from here, I have evidence that even the traffic does not meet the rule criteria with the non-selective audit trail, the construct still gets logged. So you still have this very important auditing information to tell what SQL construct instance happened in the past. Okay. Next, we will check against the policy installation scheduling. It is in policy installation page. You can make a schedule. For example, I want the installation to happen at 1 a.m. And after save the schedule, you can see the green check mark in the scheduling section. This indicates the policy installation is scheduled. Scheduling policy installation is useful if the policy definition gets changed regularly. For example, if you are using certain group in a policy and the group gets updated regularly, then you can schedule the policy installation so the change takes effect. But if the change is on demand, then you can also reinstall the policy on demand. In that case, you just click the install button and click reinstall. The 2 columns will tell you when the policy gets installed the last time and when the policy definition gets changed. Also, there is view logs and violation button that you can check about the logged SQLs and logged violations for the selected time duration. This is useful if you just want to get a quick view how many full SQLs or policy violations gets logged in the past time period. Okay, The selective audit trail column, it tells you quickly whether the policy is a selective or non-selective audit trail. So this policy type is very important because it decides the default login behavior. Speaking of default login behavior, I mentioned that by default, DB exceptions are always logged, no matter it's selective or non-selective, right? How to verify that? What you can find from the GUI is a exception count predefined report. But it only showed you the total number of exceptions. It includes both DB exceptions and Guardium's local exceptions. What if you just want to check the DB exceptions? The answer is that you can clone another report called exceptions list report. This report will locate the DB exceptions logged in the Guardium collector. So let me just check quickly. So there are multiple exceptions logged. If I order by the count, you can see the 3 failed login, which generated the alert notification, right? And the second and the third are 2 consecutive login. It's not triggering the policy violation, but they still get logged, right? There are other database exceptions as well. I only have 1 exception rule, but all the DB exceptions get logged. So this indicates it is indeed that all the exceptions are logged by default. Okay, that's the end of the demo. I tried very hard to include as much info as possible into this demo, but the policy topic itself is a very broad topic. There are different criteria and different rule actions, and there are blocking actions that I haven't touched at all. So in case needed, you can always refer to the Knowledge Center page, which has more detailed info. Policy implementation is a very big part of Guardium admin's work. So I want to share some thoughts on policy implementation, straight from my experience in support. First, here's how I define a well-designed policy. It does 2 critical things. One, it makes sure database activity logging and alerting line up with your auditing requirements. And 2, it keeps the collector from running into performance issues. When you are just starting out, I recommend using some Guardium's predefined policy templates, like the Basic Data Security Policy. They give you a solid, secure foundation while you build policies that fit your specific environment. Next, a key point: don't overload your collector's sniffer. A good way to avoid that is using the connection profiling list predefined report to tell trusted and untrusted connections apart. For the trusted ones, add the right session level ignore actions, like the ignore step session, to cut down on the traffic sent to the collector. Also, if you don't need it, disable the inspect returned data and the log records affected. That also helps lighten the sniffer load. Also, don't forget to check your SQL login regularly. You can use Guardium reports to make sure the logged traffic is at the right level, whether that's basic SQLs, full SQLs, violations, or exceptions. If it's not, then adjust your rule criteria, actions, or even switch the policy type between selective and non-selective audit trail as needed. And the last one I really want to stress: avoid making rule criteria too broad for logful detail and alert per match actions. These actually end up causing way too much logging, and that can slow the sniffer down, fill the collector's database quickly, and delay reporting and aggregation. As a support engineer, we see collector full issues very often, And most of the time, the root cause is policy configuration, especially overusing log full detail or alert per match for traffic that doesn't need it. So my ask is, please review your audit reports regularly and tune your policy rules as needed. That way, you make sure you are not missing important audit data and also not logging a large volume of unnecessary traffic. That's it. In the appendix, I've attached the screenshot of the rules I created for the demo. I also attached a table comparing the ignore actions and the selective audit trail option. So to sum up, if you want to reduce traffic from step, use ignore step session on trusted connections. If you want to cut down SQLs logged into the collector, then use a selective audit trail policy with properly defined access rules for logging. And if you want to reduce both incoming traffic and SQL construct logging, then you can use selective audit trail policy plus ignore step session action in specific rules. Also included are the relevant knowledge center links and the tech note I referenced when preparing these training slides. Policy configuration is both simple and complex. It is simple because getting started is easy. Creating a policy with logful details for everything takes just a few seconds. However, it becomes complex when you need to refine the policy to meet all your auditing requirements without filling up your appliance. You need to tune your policy with properly defined rule criteria and actions. That is everything for me about today's Guardium policy training. Thank you very much for your time.